Greetings, loyal subscribers and honoured guests. As you can see up there, it's that time of year again for my Game of the Year awards. And so before I get started with the actual main awards, I've got quite a few honourable mentions this year. Yeah, there's some significant stuff on here. The main reason is I just haven't had enough time to spend on each one. I haven't completed any of the ones that I'm about to list off. Anyway, without further ado, let's get on with the honourable mentions. So we have Baldur's Gate 3, which I probably put in about 20 hours. Basically the opening sort of line of quests where you try and get the tadpole out of your brain and you infiltrate the goblin camp and deal with the leaders there. And I actually did it twice, because the first time I went in and tried to fight everybody, and that's not really the way to go. In Baldur's Gate 3, even on the easiest setting, you won't have much luck just going in there at such a low level and trying to kill everything. So yeah, I then tried again and used sort of sneakier methods to deal with them. And then I realised just how many hours it would take to beat that game, and it wasn't a number that I was willing to put into just one game at that time, so I set it aside for later, and I haven't gone back. But yeah, it is as good as everyone says it is. I don't know exactly when I'll go back to it, because I bought it for the Steam Deck, and now I'm tempted to pick up the physical edition for the PS5 or the Xbox. So we'll see if I end up doing that. Because I thought I would play it in handheld mode on commutes and things, but I think I'd rather sort of settle in and play it on my big TV, to be honest with you. Anyway, and then there's Alan Wake 2, which I've played probably about half of the game, and I just haven't gone back and finished it yet. I was really enjoying it, but it's the sort of game where you need to be in the right mood to want to play it. It's quite dark and scary at times. It's not for a survival horror, it's not that scary, to be honest, but it is more than the original Alan Wake. Yeah, more cumbersome than the original Alan Wake, which was very much an action game of the 360 era. Excuse me. And then there's Super Mario RPG, which I started playing over Christmas, but I've only put a couple of hours into. Likewise, Robocop Rogue City, I played the beginning of that. Metroid Prime Remastered, which again, yeah, I've dabbled with. Sea of Stars, which I actually got about 80% in, and then didn't want to play anymore. So maybe that is an indication that I wasn't enjoying it enough to want to bother with the rest of it. And that was quite a hyped up game for me. I backed the Kickstarter. I look forward to it for 3 or however many years, and then the final game just didn't really engage me as much as I was expecting. But yeah, I did sink a good 20 hours or so into that before I stopped. And then finally, Starfield, which again, I sank, I don't know, probably 50 or so hours in, and that's doing a couple of the faction quests and some of the main quest, and then just doing random stuff that the game sort of generates for you to do. So I did really enjoy the factions that I did, which was the military, I remember, and another one that I forget at the moment, and I do fully intend to go back to Starfield and do some more, because sort of like Skyrim, it doesn't really matter how long you take to finish it, and if I do one faction at a time in its entirety, then I won't really forget what's going on. The main plot is quite a simple one, really, just like some of Bethesda's any other games. But anyway, that's the honourable mentions list. So next I have my main top 10 games of the year, and I'll be showing you a trailer for each as I talk about them. And then there's one additional award that I want to give out after that, which is the best game I played in 2023 that came out beforehand, because all of the criteria for getting on the main list is it has to have come out this year. But I also want to sort of acknowledge games that came out before this year that I've only just got around to finishing. So yeah, there'll be a separate award for that, but it will just be one game. I won't be going through a whole separate top 10, or we'll be here for ages. But without further waffle, let's switch over to the first game. Now, when you see this game, you might well be surprised that this made the top 10 list of games of the year. This is Suika game, and as far as I know it, Suika is Japanese for watermelon. And as you can see, it's a sort of Tetris-style well puzzle game where you do have the central well and you drop stuff into it. And in the case of this game, it's fruit. And you can see on the right there, you have the circle of evolution. And every time you match two fruits of the same type, then they move up a level on the evolutionary circle. And the idea is to get all the way up to watermelon. And ideally you want to get 2 watermelons so that you can get them to touch and disappear for massive points. But just getting one more watermelon is pretty challenging for me at the moment, let alone 2. But it's deceptively simple, but really addictive. It has got an annoying tune, which you can probably just about hear in the background, although I've taken it down to quite a low level. And it's can get surprisingly tactical, because the game will inevitably end up giving you fruit that you don't need yet, and then you have to find a space for it, and you end up sort of blocking yourself. So there's no ways at the moment for those 2 cherries to touch, but and those 2 persimmons, and that's how the well kind of fills up, really. But you might just about be able to notice that each of the fruits is constantly sort of moving. They sort of rotate, so you can sort of make use of that momentum when you pop other fruits and get them to jump or roll into each other and set up combos in that way. But and this is the Switch version, I should mention, and it's only about £1.80 to buy, so it's ridiculously cheap. But I'm not sure exactly what the original version of this game is, whether this is it, and it's just been ported across from mobiles or PC or something, or not, because there's already the market on mobile phones, at least, is already being flooded full of imitation games, so it's hard to say exactly what the original version of Suika game is, but this one on the Switch is extremely good fun. So anyway, yeah, that's my 10th place game of 2023, Suika game. Moving on to 9th place, and we have the Crew Motorfest, which I bought a couple of months ago because I do really enjoy a nice arcade racer. And this is Ubisoft's latest attempt in the Crew franchise. Now, the 2 previous Crew games are okay, but they're not that great, to be honest. But this one finally kind of delivers on the promise of the series. But they have quite changed the series, what it's about, quite significantly. Because in the first one, it was more sort of a Need for Speed type game where you were an undercover cop who became part of a gang or a crew, as the title would suggest, and you sort of do missions as well as just driving across the United States and try and take down the crime gang. And then the Crew 2 shifted things to a sort of reality TV show where you were trying to earn points across a variety of disciplines. And now for this one, they've gone the Motor Festival route. So it is basically Forza Horizon, but their version of it. And it's actually surprisingly good. I'm just trying to make sure I can restart the video if it ends, so I'm not waffling over a blank screen. But anyway, yeah. So it's just like Forza Horizon, any of the recent ones, except it's set in Hawaii, which is a place that Horizon hasn't touched yet, and I doubt they will now that the Crew's done it. And it is a stunning backdrop to do all these races in. It's gloriously sunny with blue skies and crystal clear seas. So yeah, it's really good fun. And the real thing that sets it apart from Horizon really is the playlist idea. There's like I don't know how many there are in the base game, at least 12 playlists, and each is themed around a particular thing. I think the first one you do is just sort of a tour of Hawaii, so it shows you the famous sites like Waikiki Beach and Honolulu and stuff like that. And then it will take you through other playlists like a history of Lamborghini, or drifting, or Made in Japan, all about Japanese performance cars. And these playlists are about 7 to 10 events long, and they're narrated all the way through by the sort of AI character, who can be quite annoying, to be honest, and then guest hosts about each discipline or subject. And it's really good fun, and that they continuously add more of these playlists every month. So there's always going to be stuff to do, and then there's and that's the playlists really are just touching the tip of the iceberg as well, because there's additional challenges and all sorts of unlockables and a fully open world to explore. So yeah, that's the 9th place, the Crew Motorfest. And now in 8th place we have F-Zero 99, and this was a really awesome surprise when it was announced in the direct that they first unveiled it in. Nintendo have done this a few times now, starting with Tetris 99, and then they did Pac-Man 99 and Super Mario 99, but I never really got into those as much as Tetris. But they basically take an existing IP and they sort of apply the Battle Royale idea to it, so you end up playing with 99 other players, and that's gradually whittled down to one person. And in the case of F-Zero 99, you do have 99 racers on the track, and the way it eliminates people is twofold really. Each lap, the sort of target position that you need to be in gets reduced, so eventually if you just aren't driving well enough, you'll be eliminated that way. And then you have an energy bar, and as you end up scraping the walls or being battered by other drivers, your energy will go down, and you can top it up in the pits, but you need to monitor it. And if you you can, your health is also your boost meter, so you will need to boost in order to succeed, but if you do it too much, then you will almost inevitably explode. Yeah, and there's all sorts of extra things in it. They've added more and more cups and tracks over the months, so it's not a static game. They're continually adding stuff to it. I think they said they might have stopped now, but that those things are going to sort of rotate in and out as time goes by. It's just great to see them actually doing something with the F-Zero property, and it's been really quite popular, I think. So hopefully that will indicate to Nintendo that we want a fully formed F-Zero sequel as well, and they'll take notice of that and give us what we want. So yeah, that's 8th place, F-Zero 99. And in 7th place we have The Spirit and the Mouse. And you might think I'm cheating a little bit here, because this game actually came out on the Nintendo eShop in a previous year. I think it was 2022. But the physical version was released by Super Rare Games this year, so I'm counting it because that's the version I bought. And this is basically, it takes the sort of concept of Stray, where you are some sort of animal running around doing basic platforming and exploring, and in this case you're a mouse. And yeah, it's quite relaxing in the same way as Stray, but I think I ended up actually enjoying it slightly more because there's a bit more depth to it than Stray. That was basically sort of quite a linear narrative that you go through once, and it takes about 4 to 5 hours. But in this one, the main campaign is also a similar length, about 5 hours, but it's a bit more freeform in the order of stuff that you want to do, and it feels a bit more like an old school platformer at times as well, because there's hundreds of these blue light bulbs hidden around, and you unlock stuff with these blue light bulbs and basically restore the happiness of the town. There's the blue light bulbs there. Yeah, I quite enjoyed just going off the beaten path and looking for these light bulbs, because they're scattered absolutely everywhere. Although, having said that, I didn't attempt to find every single one, because you don't need all of them to beat the game. I think there's some additional extra things that you unlock that aren't really necessary to anything really. But yeah, I had a great time with The Spirit and the Mouse. I don't know whether I'll go back and play it again one day. I'm not going to part with my physical copy just yet, but it might be the sort of game that you just play once and then that's it. But anyway, Spirit and the Mouse is 7th place. And now in 6th place we have Diablo IV. Now, I'm going to say right off the bat that unfortunately Diablo IV just isn't as good as Diablo 3, which I've completed numerous times and may well still go back to this day. Diablo was just so finely crafted and balanced and perfected over many years that at the moment at least Diablo 4 just can't compete with it. But having said that, I still spent 55 hours playing through the main campaign and beyond, because I still haven't got to level 100, because that's a huge undertaking really, just with one character. And there's still 2 more sort of Crucible dungeons that I haven't completed, and I'll get on to explaining what they are in a minute. But the main campaign was fun. Sort of my main gripe really about the game is just how bleak it is. Diablo 3, for all its sort of horrific subject matter, was very bright and colourful, and the story, while dark and obviously full of twists and evil winning out over good, it wasn't as miserable as this one. This one is got a very sort of dour, muted colour palette, more realistic, people would probably argue, and the things that happen in the story are just hideously grim. So you have to sort of have a sort of strong stomach for this sort of thing, and if you're not in the right mental place, it could be the wrong game to play. So I'm going to dock it a few points for that. And of course, anyone who's sort of kept up with the game at all will realise that the seasons that they've done for post-game content haven't been well received at all. And yeah, they do seem very uninspired. They just sort of make you go through the same stuff again, really, with a slight twist, and the twist hasn't been big enough or interesting enough to merit playing through again. I guess there are people still playing it and enjoying it, and to be honest, there's still plenty of main game that I haven't done yet, and I don't know however many other character classes there are, 5 or so, that I haven't engaged with yet. But for now, I've uninstalled it because I need the space for other games. But I might well go back to it. And it's still early days, to be honest. If they stick with it and refine it like they did with Diablo 3, it could turn into something much better. But we'll see. So anyway, that's 6th place, Diablo 4. And now in 5th place we have Hogwarts Legacy. This was a really impressive game for me. It's not the best sort of RPG ever made, but in terms of Harry Potter merchandise, anyone who loved those films or the books will absolutely adore this, because the attention to detail that they've just put in to recreating Hogwarts, and the surrounding area, Hogsmeade and all of that, is astounding, to be honest. And the game itself, the combat is quite interesting, and there's some fun quests and characters to meet. But I did find it getting a bit samey towards the end, to be honest. And I by no means did I go and do all of the sort of optional challenges on the map, like the Merlin trials and all that. I was quite happy to sort of play through all the sort of sub-factions and the main quest, and that was that. But that was still quite a long amount of time, I forget exactly. But I felt quite satisfied with the game by the time I was done with it. And actually the new characters that are, some of them are ancestors of characters you will know, are quite well performed and realised. So yeah, there's a lot for Harry Potter fans to get into. I'm not sure whether anyone else would get much out of it, and obviously it's quite a controversial game. Many won't even acknowledge its existence, let alone give it any time. But I'm not bothered about any of that, to be honest. I still played it and enjoyed it. So anyway, that's 5th place, Hogwarts Legacy. And now in 4th place we have Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who changed his name. And this kick-started a whole sort of 2-month period of me mainly playing Like a Dragon or Yakuza games, as they were known previously. And this is the latest one, which brings back Kiryu. Kiryu is the main protagonist, although he's undercover as Joryu. But of course that's not going to convince anybody, and barely sort of an hour or two into the game he's already been recognised for who he actually is, which is a bit silly, to be honest. I mean, he went to somewhere where people definitely knew who he was. He ends up in Yokohama, which was the location of Like a Dragon, Yakuza Like a Dragon, the one with Ichiban. But he's only there briefly. But yeah, most of his time is spent in Osaka, which he's been in lots previously in other games. So how he ever thought he was going to get around without being recognised is yeah, it's daft, to be honest. But the actual game itself is really good fun. It's a short one. There's only 5 sort of main story chapters, which will take about 20 hours to do. There is still a ton of optional stuff, and some of the optional stuff is what makes the game so good. Which it includes a port of Daytona 2 from the arcade, although they had to rename it something else because they didn't have the Daytona licensed. So yeah, I sort of played this one and Yakuza Like a Dragon in the wrong order. I did this one first, and then this made me really want to play the other Yakuza games I hadn't finished, which is what ended up happening. But more on that later in this video. So, but anyway, if you're a Yakuza fan or at least of Kiryu's part in the story, then you need to check this out. And of course, his story will be continuing and possibly concluding in Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth, but we'll see. Anyway, that's Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name, in 4th place. And now in 3rd place we have Marvel's Spider-Man 2, and this was quite another recent play through for me, and it's technologically astounding. Insomniac really know how to get the most out of the PS5 in terms of performance and visuals, and some of just the technical stuff this game is doing, like the way you fast travel and you instantly are zapped across the map in real time without any loads whatsoever. That's really cool. But otherwise, it's basically uses the same template as the previous 2 games, Spider-Man and Miles Morales, but it does tweak things in some good ways. The sort of optional content is a bit less repetitive, because one of my problems with the first game is the sort of random crimes that appeared on the map, because if you wanted 100% completion you had to do those basically, and they got really boring, but I did sort of grind them out eventually. But in this game the crimes are optional. They're still there, but they don't count towards 100% completion, and the stuff that does is a lot more interesting, although you're still doing the same things over and over, but not as many times as previously. And the main reason to play these games though is the main plot. It's a good Spider-Man story, and it's effectively sort of the length of 10 or even 20 films back to back, but told in a video game form as well. But if it was a sort of MCU big screen blockbuster, it would actually fit in quite well with that. But it's its own sort of universe with nods to the films and Across the Spider-Verse film as well. There's some costumes you can unlock for that, and it's an interesting take on Venom. But while it's as I said on Facebook when I finished it, it's definitely not Game of the Year material for me, but it has come in 3rd place, so it earns the sort of bronze medal. So there we go, fully deserving of a spot in the top 10. So let's move on to 2nd place. So I said near the beginning that to sort of qualify for my top 10, you mostly had to be a game that I had actually finished. And I'm breaking my own rule here, because I've got very close to the end, but I haven't beaten Remnant 2 yet. But I do fully intend to go back and finish it. But just playing through once and finishing the game is only scratching the surface really, because the way this game works is that there are 2 and sometimes 3 plot threads for each world, and there's like 4 or 5 worlds, and the one that you get on your playthrough is kind of randomly assigned to you, and then once you beat that particular plot in your campaign, you unlock what is called adventure mode, and you can go back into the worlds you've explored already and experience the other stories within that world. So if you really want to see everything, it'll take a long time. But it's just a game that I enjoy. The grind. It feels very satisfying to go in and shoot these enemies. And although it's sort of set up as a 3-player co-op experience, I've played it entirely on my own, and I've managed fairly well to beat most of the bosses. Some of them can be a pain if you're under-leveled or under-prepared, but like Remnant 1, you can sort of re-roll the world if you get completely stuck, and continue to grind and build up your character, find more weapons and level them up, and just get generally better at the game. So there are ways to sort of exploit the system, maybe. Well, it's built in, so it's not really exploiting it, but take advantage of the way the game is set up to beef up your character and eventually beat it. But of course, if you want to play online with 2 friends, then that is a great way to do it as well, and it probably will be easier, to be honest with you. But there's hours and hours of content in there, and even though this is kind of considered a Souls-like with punishing difficulty and all that stuff, it's one that I can actually get on with because it's gun-based mostly. I don't find that nearly as challenging as melee combat, so I can choose a sort of sniper class and pick people off at a distance. And I play the class with the dog, who can actually revive me and draw aggro from enemies. So that's a great one to go for if you do play it solo. I can't remember what it's called. Is it Hunter? That has the dog, so I would recommend going with that. But anyway, that's silver medal, 2nd place, Remnant 2. And now the game that actually ended up in 1st place and getting the gold medal is Like a Dragon Ishin. And this came as something of a surprise to me, because when I bought this game when it came out quite early in the year, and I put some hours into it, and I wasn't really feeling it, because if you're not familiar with Japanese history, then all the terms and names being thrown about can be quite confusing. And the fact that the characters had faces of other characters that I already knew only ended up making it more confusing, because in your head you're thinking that's Majima, for example, but they're actually playing someone completely different, and their personality can be different as well. So I ended up setting it aside and not really getting into it too much back then. But after I played Like a Dragon Gaiden and Yakuza Like a Dragon, I wanted to keep the momentum going and get some other games in the series finished that I hadn't as well. So I went back to this one, started from the beginning, and once you get sort of through the first introductory bit and the first proper chapter, then the game opens up like they usually do, and you get the side quests, I just started having fun exploring the world really, and doing the side quests. And there's a whole sort of sub game that you unlock called Another Life, where you end up taking on a property to look after an orphaned girl called Haruka. So yeah, it's her. It's the same actor and voice actor, and it's got farming elements. You can grow crops on your property and expand it and put in scarecrows and stuff, and then you fulfill orders for the village and build up money, and you have to pay off her debt in sections of 20,000 yen. So you eventually pay off 100,000 yen, and once you've paid that all off, yeah, she is free of debt and you've helped her out. So I enjoyed doing that. And then there's another sub thing for the Shinzengumi, where you go on missions for them and you're clearing out caves of bandits, and it's just sort of like a dungeon crawler where you're exploring the bandit caves or mines, killing them all and recovering any stolen treasure and that sort of thing. And by the time I was done, I feel I did actually learn quite a bit about Japanese history and culture. In terms of comparisons to other games in the series, it is quite muted and serious compared to those, because even the sub-games where normally quite wacky things go on, I feel they're more sort of down to earth and normal in this one. I guess that's being respectful of the time period and things like that, really. There are still some weird ones, because it wouldn't really be a Yakuza or like a Dragon game without a little bit of weirdness. But compared to other games in the series, yeah, it is definitely more down to earth. One of the mini games I really enjoyed, actually, before I move on, is the Cannonball game, where you stand on the docks and a guy fires sort of paper cannonballs at you, and you either slice them with your sword or you shoot them down with a pistol. There's two different modes, and I found that really good fun, and it didn't take too long to actually beat that game 100%, and then there's no reason to go back to it, unfortunately. But yeah, so there's some good mini games, good sub quests, and an interesting story once you get into it. So people who haven't played any of the other Like a Dragon games could get into this quite easily and play it, because it's not really connected to anything else. It's a historical epic, and I hope this does well enough for them to bring the other one over, which is Like a Dragon Kenzen, which is another historical story. So yeah, that would be interesting to get that as well. But now let's move on to my final award, which is the game that didn't come out in 2023 that I enjoyed the most. And surprise, surprise, the winner of the best old game that I completed is yet another Like a Dragon game. And this is yet another one where I started it as soon as it came out. It was one of the first games I played on my new Series X. I think it was one of the sort of launch window games. And yeah, I wasn't feeling it at the time, because it's a completely new protagonist and set of characters, and the real-time brawler combat has been replaced by turn-based battling, and I just wasn't too sure about it back then, but this time I really got into it, and again, there's some really fun mini games, and the wackiness that the series is known for is really in full force in this one. And I ended up really enjoying the turn-based battle system. It's really dynamic and fun once you get used to it. And basically, the whole game does model itself on Dragon Quest, which is another one of my favourite series anyway. So the main hero here is a big fan of those games, and he sort of imagines he's in a Dragon Quest game, which explains why it's gone turn-based, really. And yeah, stuff like karaoke makes a return, but there's also driving around and picking up cans to recycle them, which you saw a little bit in there. And then there's a whole business management mini game. So one of the reasons I did bounce off it to begin with was I thought it was very stingy with money. You need money to sort of unlock extra skills in your skill tree, and you need it to survive, basically, to buy potions and stuff. And also you need money to pump into the other mini games. Like there's a sort of trivia thing where charges you every time you do it. And then there's Dragon Kart, which is basically Mario Kart, but you have to pay quite a lot of money to upgrade your kart, and I just found it extremely stingy with money. But basically you have to sort of ignore that until you get the business mode in chapter 5, and then you can really start raking in the cash, and then you'll be able to gradually afford all the stuff you need. So yeah, it does make you sort of fully engage with all the bonus optional stuff, really, if you want to do well in the main game, which can be seen as a bit of a drag if you're not into it. But by the end of it, I was enjoying all of it, and ended up sinking 70 hours into this game, which is the most time I spent on any game this year, closely followed by Diablo IV, I believe, at 55 hours. So yeah, and I would have continued to play Yakuza games because I've still got Lost Judgment to go, but I didn't feel that I could fit it in before Infinite Wealth comes out at the end of January. So I'm taking a bit of a break from the series until that comes out, but I've already purchased Infinite Wealth for Steam, so I'll be playing it on Steam Deck. And after that I might move on to Lost Judgment, and then I'll be done with the Yakuza games for the time being. But anyway, that's my top 10. It's quite a lengthy video, I realise, although I am going to sort of trim it down a bit in post-production. But yeah, thank you for watching. It's rather an odd top 10, really, because all the big games were in my honourable mentions, and I haven't finished them. So, with the exception of Spider-Man 2, I suppose. But yeah, but I don't mind being different from everyone else, because when I watch people's top 10s, it's more interesting to see the stuff that I wouldn't have put on mine or I hadn't heard of than it is the big games that everyone's going to put on there. So anyway, enough rambling. I'm going to stop the video there. So thank you for watching. I'll be back with more content before too long. And in the meantime, take care.